Cascading Style Sheets 2, Simple Selectors. This presentation has a lot of information. No one would blame you for watching it twice. That's what I would do. Simple Selectors. The following code will turn all span tags green. So if we look at the style that I've created, span, color, green, we can see the results over here on the right hand side. How does that work? Why is Mexico, US, and Mexico again green? Because if we look at the code, there is a span tag with an ID of Mexico wrapped around the word Mexico and then closed. There's a span tag with an ID of US wrapped around US in parenthesis and then it closes. And then there's a span with an ID of Mexico wrapped around the word Mexico again and then it closes. Everywhere that I have a span with an ID of Mexico or US, doesn't matter. We're just simply targeting all spans and we're coloring them green. We can select elements by name. Let's say we only want green text when the country of origin is Mexico. If I look at the code, span ID Mexico, that's what I want to target. How do I do that? Well, anywhere I have an ID, I just substitute the word ID for a pound sign when I'm creating my rule. So, where I have a span with an ID of Mexico, I want to color that green. And you can see at the right that only the Mexico spans are targeted. Let's say we want red text where the country of origin is the United States. This time, since I have a span with an ID of US in my markup, I can use it as a selector. Span with an ID of US. Color it red. And the results are over at the right hand side. Oranges are from the US. Selectors allow us to drill down into elements of our page and apply formatting that affects only those elements. For example, the following CSS rule looks for an emphasis tag within an H1 tag, and it colors the text red. Looking at the example at the bottom, on the right, this is a header. Header would be marked up, the word header would be marked up within emphasis tags. And this is a header, the entire thing is an H1. If I want to select just the word header, I can be very specific. I can say where I have an H1 and inside of it there's an emphasis tag, color that red. This is called specificity, being very specific. We can drill down to as many as 5 elements. For example, let's say we only want strong emphasized text that is within tables that are within divisions to be read. Here's my example. At the bottom right, this is a header. That would be the text that is inside of this TD, which is for table data, which is inside of a table, which is inside of a division. Okay? And if you can imagine seeing the code behind this, the word header is strong and emphasized. And that's what we want to target to make red. So, here's my selector, where I have a division, and inside of it is a TD, which is for table data. And where I have inside of that table data something that's marked up with strong and emphasized text, color that red. Now that is being very specific. We can also select specific elements by their ID attribute, then apply rules to the elements contained within them. For example, on the right hand side, I see this shirts header with some paragraph of text followed by a list. 2 paragraphs of text followed by a list. What can I do with this? Well, let's say that I don't want to touch the headers. I'm satisfied with them and the color is fine, and I don't want to touch the list. But I do want to change the paragraphs. Well, if I've named this division with an ID of shirts, let's see what I can do. I use as a selector the division with an ID of shirts. And inside of that, where I have paragraphs, color those red. Again, this is being very specific, and it doesn't do anything to the unordered list or the header. Let's say we only want to apply formatting to the first line of a paragraph, or perhaps we only want to apply formatting to the first letter of a paragraph. Cascading style sheets allow us to do this. In this example, I'm going to use the P as a selector, and then I just type colon first line. This is what's known as a pseudo selector or a pseudo tag selector. It's very special, and there are a few of these, and I'll show you where they are along the way. So P colon first line does exactly what you think it does. Colors it red. It colors the first line of every paragraph red. If I wanted to just change the first letter, P colon first letter is my selector. And I color it red, and I can see in the example at the bottom that the T in the first paragraph is red, and the O in the second paragraph is red. So again, remember, we're not being that specific. We're being kind of general, and we're saying all paragraphs where the first letter or first line occur, color them red. Formatting hyperlinks. Links, or the anchor tags, they have 5 different states: link, visited, focus, hover, and active. And each state can have its own look and feel. Now, there's a tip at the bottom. When you define an anchor, the CSS rules, you need to define them in this order: LV, FHA, link, visited, focus, hover, and active. LV, FHA. Here's an example of how we could change LV, FH, and A. In the first example at the top, A colon link. This is, by the way, a pseudo selector or a pseudo tag selector or a pseudo class selector. You might see it called by several different names. A colon link. The link itself, we're going to color it red. This means that links will be red when new and when they have never been clicked on and haven't been visited. Let's say that we visited a link and we don't want it to have that ugly purple that's the default color. We can use a pseudo class selector of A colon visited, and we can change that color to orange. So once the link has been visited, it turns orange. A colon focus, color purple. If the link gets the focus with the tab key, it turns purple. What does that mean? With the tab key? That means if you're tabbing, if the end user is tabbing through your document, the focus will shift with these little dotted lines from link to link to link within the page. If you've chosen the A colon focus, that particular link that's been tabbed to will turn purple in this case. A colon hover, color green. When a visitor hovers over the link with the pointer, it turns green. Literally, just moving the mouse over it, not clicking, not doing anything, just moving the mouse will cause it to change to green. A colon active, color blue. As the visitor clicks the link, it turns blue. That's while they're holding down the mouse. We can apply rules to groups of elements. We don't have to create a redundant rule for each element. We can apply the same rule to a group of elements. For example, let's say that we want to change all of the H1s through H6s to the color blue. I just separate them by a comma when I'm using them as a selector. H1, comma, H2, comma, H3, comma, H4, comma, H5, comma, and H6 all will be colored blue. When we want to select elements by class, we can do that. We can create our own custom CSS rules called classes and give them the name of our choice. Classes can be applied to any supported element on a web page. In this example, I like Verdana and I like blue. So here's what I'm going to do. Create my own custom style called Verdana Bold Blue. Every time that I see a cascading style sheet rule that starts with a dot, I know that that's a class. So here's my class, Verdana Bold Blue. What have I done? Font family is Verdana, font weight is bold, and the color is blue. That's great, but how can I use it? Here's an example. In this particular division, I just set up the class attribute, and I say it equals, and then I put my class name within my double quotations. That's all you have to do to apply a class. Classes are cool. Classes are for reuse over and over and over throughout your page. You can combine selectors. This is an absurd example, but I just wanted to illustrate that you can combine them. What this says in the example is where I have a division with a class of works, inside of that where I have a paragraph, and inside of that paragraph where I have the pseudo selector, which is an emphasis tag, I want the first letter to be colored red. And this example wouldn't really work. When we're done creating our styles, we can export them. We want to put our styles, in fact, going forward after this point, in an external file. How do you do that? It's really just two steps. Copy all style rules to a new CSS file, and then link to that file from the page that we're wanting the end user to view. Creating the cascading style sheet file is pretty easy. You just copy and paste all the CSS rules from the current document into a new text file. And then you save that text file with the file name and a .css extension. So as you can see in the example down at the bottom, all it really takes is you just copy those rules into a new file and save it with the .css extension. Then, here's the second step. You have to link to the CSS file. Write the following syntax into the head of your document to link to your newly created CSS file. Link, relationship, style sheet, type, text CSS, and href is filename.css, which is just a path to your external CSS file that you just created in the previous step. Now, if any of this is fuzzy to you, I recommend that you go back and rewatch this video. There's also going to be readings this week that will help reinforce your understanding. Good luck.